Hello everyone, happy Monday. I hope everyone is well. I'm going to be doing Mental Health Monday live tonight with the wonderful Kate. So hopefully we'll just wait for her to pop on and then we can have a chat, all things mental health. But how are you guys anyway? Just let you know that I am doing a fundraiser for Mind, which I have admittedly forgotten to put onto this. And also thank you, massive thank you to Nest Zest for sponsoring the February's Mental Health Mondays, helping to raise awareness for mental health and mental well-being. So Kate's just joined. I'm just gonna add her in. It might go a little bit quiet and do it whilst it's doing its thing, but we are still here. If I can press the button. Gone through and all worked. Just rearrange this. Oop.
Hello.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, it's not been the best day today. Not gonna lie, not feeling it, but this will be
Yeah,
a good distraction.
is it start of half term for you as well?
Yes. So I, being a childminder, have lots of additional children in the house.
Yeah.
So it's just it's been a bit of a long one today, but thankfully I'm not working Friday. Well, I've got no kids in on Friday, so 3
That'll
more
be
days. But how are
yeah.
you anyway? How have you been doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, start of half term here too as well. So yeah, just trying to get that balance, isn't it, between home stuff and work stuff and yeah, trying to keep some sanity as well.
There is no such thing as sanity when it comes to the half terms or any school holidays.
Yeah.
So for those who may not know you, can you just introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Kate. My handle is always just Kate. I'm a social media manager, freelance content creator based down in Bournemouth. I live with my 12-year-old and I do the social media for Clean and Tidy Home Show, Clean Living, and a couple of other clients who you probably all know as well.
And just an amazing person as well. You're a legend.
Thank you,
We
Joe.
love Kate.
Thank you very much.
So I wrote down I'm not going to go through all of these questions, but I wrote down a list of questions because I feel like I'm asking everybody the same thing.
Yeah.
So start off, what does mental well-being mean to you?
So, mental well-being for me is knowing when I need to take a break, knowing what my triggers are, and being able to say, actually, I can't do that today, and knowing that that's okay, and not putting too much pressure on yourself or on myself to feel like I have to do things. I used to feel like I had to have a list every day and tick it all off every day, but actually now I do a list for the week, and it doesn't matter what day stuff gets done, as long as it gets done during that week at some point. So it's about making sure you're taking time for you and pacing yourself at a pace that works for you and not trying to conform to what you see other people doing and trying to match up to what other people are doing on a daily basis, because we're all different and what our mental health looks like compared to someone else's will be very different. So your mental well-being is how you feel, not how you think you should be feeling.
Perfect. And do you know when you're kind of starting to dip? Because I always kind of realise it after it's happened. But do you know
Yeah,
as it's happening, before, after?
I can kind of feel it. So I'm quite an introverted person. It was a bit of a joke at the Clean Tidy Home Show last year, and someone gave me the little social battery badge because I'm very much kind of like I like my own space, I like my own company, and I don't need to be around people all the time. So it's kind of like I'm like a short burst sort of person. So to be at an event where I was around people for pretty much 12 hours a day for 3 days was quite exhausting. So I'm quite good at knowing when I need to take a breather and spotting those signs because I start withdrawing a little
Yeah.
bit and it starts to feel like I'm masking and putting myself out there, but I know I don't want to be out there. I'm not really a kind of a personal space sort of person anyway. So yeah, that's kind of like the first thing that goes up is that like, no, like I'm not a huggy person the best of times. So the first thing I do is I withdraw kind of any physical contact from people. And then it's then like mentally, I will then start kind of masking and shutting down a little bit and switching off. It's a bit of kind of an ADHD-ish trait, kind of that mental overwhelm, and then kind of starting to introvert yourself a little bit to, I suppose it's like preserving your social battery as well. Like, you know that it's starting to flag a little bit. So you take yourself back a little bit so that you can maintain it for longer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm quite good at knowing my triggers. It's definitely been a process that I've learned over the last kind of maybe 20 years of being aware of kind of my own personal traits and triggers. But yeah, I think learning what your triggers are and seeing them as self-development, not weakness, is a big thing.
And do you find that after these things, like any social situation, do you find by the end of it you're just exhausted, like you need a couple of days to recover from it?
Yeah, definitely. And it's more than just kind of, so you get like the physical exhaustion side of it where then you don't want to get out of bed. And I always notice when I've hit kind of that burnout
Mhm.
point, the first thing that goes out the window is my self-care. So
Yeah.
things like having a shower, washing my face, brushing my teeth, all those sorts of things I just don't have the energy for because I've hit that burnout point. And it's then kind of survival, and it's okay, make sure my son gets to school okay, make sure he's got food, make sure the cats have been fed, make sure like the house is safe and secure and everything's working as it should do. And I'm then like way down that list of priorities because I've reached that burnout stage. Whereas by spotting my triggers earlier, and if it's things where I can then help preserve myself, I can kind of keep everything on a bit more of an even keel. But yeah, like after like a big weekend event and stuff, me as a priority goes right down to the bottom. And
Mhm.
it's that like self-preservation kind of kicks in, and it's maintaining everyone else. And then there's never anything left then to spend on myself. So it's then just a case of, well, you're lucky I put clean clothes on today and I've got some socks and a hoodie on and all the rest of it, and I've brushed my hair. Like that's all you're going to get from me. But I think it's accepting that kind of people do have those kind of those waves up and down,
Mhm.
and also not judging people when they can say like today's not a good day, and then just kind of not focusing on that.
Yeah, I'm the same. If I'm in that place, I can't. I think I really need to wash my face. I just want to get into bed. Like, okay, I really need to brush my teeth today. Like, I really don't have the mental capacity to something as simple as picking up my toothbrush, putting the toothpaste on, and doing with it.
Yeah.
And I can't have a electric toothbrush because the noise really irritates me, especially when I'm in a bad place. So I have a manual one. But it is funny, isn't it? Like, as you say, the self-care just goes straight out the window. You're in kind of fight or flight, just get through these next 5 minutes and the next 10 minutes and then the next half an hour. Everyone else is sorted, all of their needs are met, but yours just kind of go straight down.
Yeah.
And
That's
it's
it. And
insane.
showering's always the worst one. I tried to explain it to my friends. My friend's the other way, and she's like one of these like showers at least once a day sort of people.
Hmm.
And I'm like, no, like I'm an every other day person on a good week. On a bad week, I can happily quite easily go the whole week and not have
Yeah.
showered once because it's like that whole thing of getting undressed and you get cold, getting in the shower and you get cold, getting out the shower, getting cold, then drying my hair. Like all of that is just like I'm not like I don't
Yeah.
like being cold anyway. I'm like I need to like be nice and toasty sort of person. So the thought of having to go through all those stages and being cold and just I just find it so boring.
Yeah.
Like they're just everyday things that everyone has to do. But I just find it so overwhelming, but so equally like my brain's got nothing to occupy it. So I overthink and then I go down rabbit holes and it ends up I just kind of end up worse than before, just from something as simple as having a shower.
My when I went to the doctors when I was in the midst of my depression, I said I'm struggling to sleep. Like I'm waking up a lot in the night today. He's like, "Oh, have a hot shower before you go to bed." I'm like, that doesn't help me because, as you say, it's the process of, okay, I've got to get undressed now. Right, I'm cold. Right, quick, go get in the shower, and then it's the little things, the thought process of shampoo the hair, rinse that out, conditioner in the hair, wait for that, wash the body. It's not as simple as having a shower
Yeah.
because there are so many little things that go with it that it's just if you're not in any headspace, you just can't do it. It's so overwhelming.
Yeah.
And I've never
Yeah, I
understood
find showers
that.
have the opposite. Like they wake me up more than like, because everyone says that and they're like, well, have a hot bath or have a hot shower and it'll make you tired. I'm like, no, it's so over sensory for me that I get out and I'm just like wired then. Like there's no chance I would then be able to sleep after a bath or a shower.
No. And I hate the fact that the doctor's first thing is, well, have a hot shower. Well, it's not going to do anything. And I can't shower in the morning. I cannot shower in the morning. It physically puts me in such a bad mood. The water hitting my skin, that sets me up for in a bad mood for the rest of the day. So I have to shower at night. And then it's, you've got to dry the hair. And it just kind of goes
Yeah. I
on.
think
It's a
about
lot.
it though, that I tend to like I can't shower in the morning. I'm not a morning person. Like there's no chance I'm going through all that before I've had a coffee. I also can't shower in an evening because it's just colder, isn't it? Like evenings are colder, so I can't do it in an evening. So I've worked out the best time for me to shower when I don't absolutely hate it and want to just throw everything out the window is that little window between school pickup and dinner time.
Yeah.
Because then kind of like there's nothing else like that hour's kind of more like a like pottering around kind of doing stuff sort of hour. So I'm like actually then I can have a shower then because it's not too cold.
Yeah.
Like I'm not then finding a million and one other things I could be doing instead. And that time works quite well.
That is a good time, because then if you do get cold, you can get into your pajamas, get into your comfies, warm up. You can sit on the sofa, snuggle in, and then you're done. Give
Yeah.
chance for your hair to dry if you can't be bothered to get dry it properly.
Yeah.
That's a good time to do it.
It feels like it doesn't ruin my evening then.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point, actually. Because it can get stressful thinking, oh God, I've got to shower, I've got to do this, oh, I've got to do my hair. Because I'm obviously naturally curly, so I'm like, am I going to straighten it today? Am I going to curl it? And then that in itself is two different things, because they both take different routines and processes. So it's, again, more things
Yeah.
just coming at you as to you've got to figure it out and do.
Yeah.
So what are some of the small, like, daily habits that you do to help protect your mental health?
So like I said at the start, I used to do a daily list and now I do a weekly list. So I have things that I have to get done every day. Like I have to be in certain meetings. I have to do school run. I have to cook dinner. There's some days I have to go do the food shopping. They're kind of like those non-negotiables. So they're kind of on the list. And I've got one of those wipe clean ones on the side of the fridge. So kind of they're on there as things I have to get done. I then have like a paper list because I like good old fashioned paper. I can't do it on my phone. I need a physical list that I can tick off. And sometimes it's retrospectively adding things on. So sometimes I'll look at my list by Wednesday and I'm like, I haven't actually ticked anything off my list, but I've tidied the cutlery drawer and I cleared out the fridge and I cleared out that drawer in the freezer because I needed to make some room for the cat food. And I'll add those things on because I don't want to look at that list on like Wednesday evening and think I haven't actually got anything done, because I have got stuff done, but it just wasn't on the list to start with. So so I'll add things on the list because then when I look back at it at the weekend, I feel better about what I've achieved, because just because I've added it on doesn't mean I haven't achieved it still. So kind of like that adding stuff on afterwards, isn't it? Like you can still do that. It's your list. You can do whatever you want with it. But I think it's also like breaking it down into kind of what does need doing this week, what just needs doing at some point this month, and what's kind of like a thing of it's nice if I do it, but no one's actually gonna like realize if I don't do it, so it doesn't really matter. And just kind of having those priorities and not putting us under so much pressure to think we have to be doing something every day. We don't have to be doing stuff at home every day or reaching goals every day or being productive every day. If sometimes all we do is look back at the end of the day and think, oh, that was a day, but I got through it, I survived, I'm still here and I'm going to wake up tomorrow. That's good enough some days as well.
100%. So you have a mixture of a to-do list and a to-do list.
Yes, exactly that. And it's also kind of not beating myself up if I don't get anything done.
Yeah, I can't do lists. Even a to-do list, I can't do them. I find that it just puts too much pressure on me. Like, I've written it down, I have to do it now.
Yeah.
And even if I think it doesn't matter, but I'm like, but I've written it down, so I can't do it. I know it works for lots of people, journaling and writing lists and stuff, but for me, it's in my head. If it gets done, if it doesn't, then it just kind of flies out.
Yeah.
I'll deal with you tomorrow. It's fine.
Yeah. It's funny you say like journaling, because those people say that really helps. So again, I have like one of those really like overcrowded brains. And I think that's why I like lists, because otherwise my brain just doesn't stop going and I've got like 50 million things going on at once. And then I forget things that I probably do need to get done. But again, it's not that sense of urgency behind some of them. It's things like tasks for work. Like I've got lists of things for each of my clients I need to get done that week. And if I don't write it down, I forget them. But it's kind of then that like holding myself accountable for it. And I've tried using like journals and planners and stuff, because everyone raves about like, oh, journaling really helps and clearing your mind at the end of the day when you're in bed and all that sort of stuff. But I've tried it and I find that if I start journaling when I'm in bed, I then start going into rabbit holes and overthinking things, and it ends up again not helping in the slightest.
Yeah.
Because then when it's like, well, what are you grateful for? And if I can't think of 5 things, I then feel this real sense of dread that, well, actually, I haven't done anything that I'm proud of myself for today. Why haven't I done anything I'm proud of? And then I start putting this extra pressure on myself
tomorrow,
to then be like, why have I not done anything?
Yeah. It's like, tomorrow I must do this. I will be grateful for showering. I will be grateful for the food. And it's extra pressure. It's just extra on everything else.
Yeah. It's another thing to add to the to-do list when I already feel like I haven't done much on the to-do list to start with.
Yeah. 100%. So I know that you're an avid reader.
Yes.
You love your reading. Are there any books or anything that you've kind of come across that you're like, that's changed my way of thinking, or that's changed my way of life? I know that I was speaking to somebody, I think you may have recommended it to him, Mel Gibson.
Mel Robbins, the Let Them Theory.
Yes, that's it. I was talking to him today about it because, like I say, I've not been in a best space, and he was like, I'm pretty sure that you can get it on Prime
Yeah.
as an audio book and listen through. So apart from, well, unless that one, are there any others you like? This has changed my life.
Well, this is then where, so me and my friend again had this debate the other day. So yeah, Michael got the Let Them theory. And I've heard amazing things about it, but I'm not really a self-help sort of person. And the way I explained it to my friends the other day, because I do read a lot. So I've set myself the challenge of 100 books for 2025, because I read 86 last year.
Yeah.
And I didn't start really reading until like the middle of February. So I feel like 100 is achievable. And that's like my switch off. So kind of the end of the day, I get into bed. I try not to scroll on my phone. I'm like, right, okay, time to pick up my book and read. And I try and read as well, like at lunchtime and a little bit kind of random points throughout the day if I feel I'm getting overwhelmed and I need to switch off.
Hmm.
But I said it's almost like because I spend up to 15 hours a day working, I spend so many hours a day looking at words, writing captions, putting things, and like, especially for like clients like Clean Living, where you're looking at the science behind a product and why it works and probiotics and the home microbiome and all these kind of scientific things. When it comes to reading and it's my hobby, I don't want to read like all stuff that's like sciencey and learning, and because I feel like I do that for those like 15 hours a day as part
Yeah.
of my job. So I actually read lots of like thrillers, lots
Okay.
of contemporary romance, a little bit of the spicy books, kind of anything that takes me away from anything where I'm having to think, I'm having to use my brain and having to look up what these long words mean or understand kind of like I do like all the self-help stuff, but that's not what I would read to kind of switch off and stuff. So I don't read them very often. I am definitely more of a kind of a story novel sort of person for my reading purposes.
Do you have a favorite book that you'll always kind of go back to, or are you, I've read it, that's done, move on to the next, or will you go back to another one?
No, I'm very much I'm read it, I'm done. But again, I think this is where like the ADHD traits are quite strong. So I tend to find an author and I like
Yeah.
their book. So I'll read a couple and then that's it. Then I get fixated on reading all of their books. So 2 years ago was when I started reading again and I discovered Colleen Hoover. And it wasn't with the It Ends With Us or It Begins With Us. It was one that she did called Ugly Love. So I read that one and it was like one of these like top 10 in Tesco, needed a book for holidays, so pick that one up. And then that was it. I then read every single Colleen Hoover book in 2023. I then discovered Frida McFadden in 2024, who's like a bit of a thrillery sort of book.
Okay.
And I read every single one of her books in 2024.
Hmm.
And it's to the point where I will literally like have them all like lined up, whether it's a paperback or on my Kindle, and I will have the complete works there ready so I can just go through one book after another. I do try to mix it up a little bit now, but I do still have maybe like 5 authors and I'll read like a thriller book, then a romance book, then a thriller book, then a romance book, just to kind of break it up a little bit.
Yeah.
But I do still get that, like, yeah, I find an author I like and that's it. Like I just obsessively read all of their written works and that's it. So
I'm just
yeah.
trying to, because I know all my books are in here for some reason. I think this might be it. This is the one book that I
Oh,
will go
that's
back to
a good one.
time and time again. And I love Cecilia Ahern as an author as well. I need to get back into reading because I think I'm a doom scroller. I think I need to, at the end of the day, pick off on something else. But Cecilia Ahern, she does amazing books and it just takes you away. You don't have to think about real life or anything like that. So I picked up, I don't think it's Cecilia Ahern, Me Before You. There was a film that came
Yeah,
out. So I thought, I need a good cry. I'm going to read that book.
yeah, no, that is a good one as well. And the film was
So,
really good as well. But I can watch a film more than once as long as it's been a good enough chunk of time between it. But I can never read the same book twice. Like I just can't do it. I'll read like a couple of chapters and think, oh, I really liked reading this book the first time. Let's read it again because it's familiar. And
mhm.
I read the first couple of chapters. I'm like, no, I just can't do it. Like it's no,
See, a lot of
you just can't get that
people
enjoyment again.
a lot of people with anxiety or mental health, they will go back to the same things over and over and over again. Like for me, it's TV shows. It's either Grey's Anatomy, Big Bang Theory, or a bit of Supernatural, because you know what's going to happen. So you haven't got the anticipation of, oh my god, what's going to happen, or what's this, what's that. So,
Yeah,
but you're what, one
yeah,
done, I've read it. Oh,
yeah.
so you like the anticipation of what's coming next.
I do. I think it's just there's like so many other ones out there. It's a bit like kind of TV series. Like I never watch the same TV series twice. Films, I can do it if I've really liked the film. So like we went to cinema twice and saw Wicked. And I find with films like that, because there's so many things that it gives you to think about, and there's like the first time you see something, there's little bits you miss, and then when you see it again, you're like, well, I didn't pick up on that last time. So films, sometimes I can see them, and then there's some favorites like Greatest Showman that I could probably like do it all word by word, complete with all the dance routines and everything.
Yeah.
But that's definitely like a go-to happy place, kind of need a pick me up, need a bit of a cry, like that kind of ticks all the boxes.
Okay.
But yeah, like books, I just can't reread books. It just doesn't work.
Different things work for different people. I mean, I will go back to the same books over and over and over again because I'm worried I'll buy this book and I'm not going to enjoy it. Then I feel like I'm stuck with it. So
Yeah.
I just go back to the old favourites.
There is that as well, isn't it? Especially if you've paid for the books. Like, what happens if you spend £5 on a book and then you don't like it, and then you feel guilty because you spent money on something that you don't like and you're not going to read it or enjoy it. So actually play it safe and just read the same things over again.
And then you're putting your pressure on yourself because you think, well, I spent this money, I've got this thing, I've told myself I'm going to read it, and then it's just an extra pressure. It's something else to think about, something else to do. It's never ending.
Yeah.
So what is something that you would tell your younger self if you could go back in time? You see, there's all this trend going off. I met my younger self. What would you tell your younger self about the way you're at today, whether it be, mentally or just generally in life? Is there anything that you would, any advice, anything you'd say?
I think just it's okay to be yourself. So if you'd seen me even 5 years ago, I looked very different. I had blonde hair, like I'd taken all my facial piercings out because, they were like the teenage thing to do. So I'd taken all my facial piercings out. I had no visible tattoos, whereas now I've got like quite a few visible ones. And I was always really concerned about what other people thought, what other people would think. Like, will it stop me from getting jobs that I want? What do people think when they see me? Like, will people stare? Like, kind of, you'll see people having a conversation. It's like, oh, are they talking about me? And I was always so concerned about being a people pleaser and what everyone else thought I should look like, and having that image that kind of it blended into the background, like very like girl next door, like, kind of never really dressed kind of very like bright. It was always kind of like blending in and just kind of like quite happy to be like in the background of everything. Yeah. Whereas kind of the last few years, I've actually realized that I can just be myself, and that's a positive. So yeah, kind of for those who follow me on Instagram and stuff, you'll have seen that I have had an insane amount of tattoos done over the last 5 years, because actually I've decided it's my skin, and if I want to cover it in ink, that's what I'm going to do. And it has caused problems with work and stuff, which the irony of it was I worked for a diversity and inclusion company and then got told that it was a problem I had blue hair and was spending my wages on tattoos and stuff. And it's like, this isn't making sense somewhere. Exactly. Like, if there's a company where you should be able to be yourself, you think it was a diversity and inclusion company, but apparently that's not the case.
Apparently they haven't read their own rule book.
Exactly. So yeah, it's kind of that, like, and I suppose I'm hoping that obviously it's passed on to like my son and stuff as well, that kind of you can be whoever you want to be. And I remember like some of the boys at school picked on him one time and said, oh, your mum looks like the Fortnite character who's got the bright coloured hair, and he was just like, and yeah, definitely. So yeah, it's one of those ones where just being yourself.
I can't imagine you blonde, like bleach blonde. I can't do it. Like, I've seen your hair go through the changes, this, that, and the other. But your hair always looks so shiny. Whenever we're on a meeting and you're talking, I just stare at your hair because it always looks so shiny.
Yeah, it's like fading out at the moment. It was like bright red, but this is like a bleached patch. But it's all being done again, but not till April. So I'm trying to like get rid of as much as I can, so that when I go for my appointment in April, we can just like go crazy with it again.
Just do rainbow hair. I've seen so many people that have like buzz cuts and then rainbows and all sort, and I just can't be bothered with the upkeep, to be perfectly honest. I've got so many, I don't know, you can't tell, I've got so many greys coming through, and I'm like, do what you want. I don't care anymore. I can't be bothered.
Yeah,
we need to know. Charlie's asking what colour you're going to go next.
I don't know. So I kind of told my hairdresser, we'll just go into the April appointment. I'll have seen how much I can strip it out in the meantime, so we've got more of a blank base to start with. We'll add a load of bleach to it, see how light we can get it, and then we'll go from there. Part of me wants to do something really crazy, so I did have it, it's about 2 years ago, and I had like the front panel was green, the rest of it was purple. So something like crazy like that would be good again.
You could do like stripes, zebra, something. I don't know. Yeah. I've got no creativity when it comes to it.
I normally just walk in the hairdresser, so I trust my hairdresser. I've had the same one now for 4 years, and I normally just walk in there. So like, it was a year ago, my hair was like way down here, like bra strap length at the back. And I just
Yeah.
walked in there and I was like, chop it off, I've had enough now. And she was like, oh, okay then. Like took the scissors out before I changed my mind. And then I normally just like whatever colour you want. Like I don't really like too much green in it because I just think that looks a bit
When,
like doesn't really suit me.
yeah, when it
Other than
fades
that,
out.
whatever. Yeah.
Do you think though, with the kind of ADHD traits, it's easier for you just to go, you figure it out? Because if you sit and think about it for too long, you're just going to change your mind so many times, and then you'll never settle on anything. So is it easier for you do it, just don't do X, Y, and Z?
I think so. I think some of it is also that expectation. So, like when I've gone into hairdressers before and I've got this really clear vision in my head of what I want, if I come out and it doesn't look like it, I instantly have in my head that I hate it, even though I don't actually hate it, but it's not what I was expecting. It's not what I went in there envisaging I was going to come out with. So then when I come out and it doesn't look the same because my
Mhm.
hair's shorter, or this is like my hair naturally, like I don't straighten it, it's just like it doesn't do anything. So like when I go in and like the picture I've given them has got like these big flowing locks and I've got like this really thin, dead straight hair. I'm like, well, it doesn't like the picture. I don't like it.
Yeah.
So I think like going in there and just being like, I'd like this much taken off and do whatever color you think is going to suit me with what we've got to start with.
Mhm.
I then am not setting myself up to hate it, even though I know I don't actually hate it. I always love what she does, but
Mhm.
because it's not what I envisaged, I think I hate it.
Yeah. No, I get that. I say my hair is naturally curly, and then when I was younger, I was like, I really want a fringe. I think it was Claire from Steps, beautiful, dead straight hair, blonde, and I was like, I'm gonna look like that. That's what my hair's gonna look like if I cut a fringe. That's not gonna happen with this hair, and so it was just this piddly little kind of thing that curled up. It looked awful. So now, every now and then, I'm like, oh yeah, fringe, and I'm like, no. I
Yeah,
think back to that time, I'm like, cannot do it. Will not happen.
yeah. It's hard, isn't it? Because then again, that's somewhere you compare yourself to others, and you're like, well, I want to look like that, and I want to be like that. But actually, like even when it, like we're saying with hair stuff, it's never going to look like what someone else's looks like because we're different to them.
Yeah.
And it's the same with like our homes, our mental health, our well, like all of it. Like as much as we want it to be like someone else's, it's never going to look like that.
No, everyone has different experiences. Even as something with hair, everyone's hair is slightly different. Everyone's complexions are different. Some people have got a warmer tone, some people have got cooler tones, and it's not going to fit everybody. But
Yeah,
also at the same time, if we were all the same, it would be so incredibly boring as well.
yeah. It's like that when you see like all the like glow up videos of like girls who've got like the full face of like glamour makeup. If I did that, I just look like I'm like it just looks ridiculous. But loads of girls, it really, really suits. But yeah, I look like I've kind of had a few too many drinks and then been let loose with an eyeshadow palette, and it just doesn't suit me at all.
Yeah, that's the same with me. I'm like, oh my god, that's firstly, I cannot do makeup. I do not understand it. I don't understand. You see these people and they're like, oh yeah, just blend. I'm like, but I'm doing that and it's not moving. So what am I doing wrong with brushes and I just think that
Yeah,
looks amazing on you, but that would never work on me because it wouldn't be blended. It'd be smudged, and then
yeah.
how do I get it to stay on my face? And it's
Yeah, you see the people who've got like all the different like the bronze and then like the blush and contours and concealer, and it's literally like a whole patchwork of color on their face, and then they're just there with like their beauty blenders, and it looks amazing. I'm like, I would literally look like I've been like face painting
yeah.
in my mum's makeup kit if I tried to do that.
And then I've got a beauty blender, but I was always kind of like doing this. And then I was watching Stacey Solomon. She's like, no, you have to literally beat your face. And I was like, oh. And then I started doing it. I was like, it works. Like, oh, yes. And now I'm literally like attacking my face every time I try to put foundation on. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
What are some of the myths that you think about mental health that need to be debunked? Kind of
I
like
think the biggest
anyone
one is that,
that's
yeah,
depressed is automatically wanting to unalive themselves, that kind of thing.
yeah. I think that whole like it's okay not to be okay. Like I think there's so much kind of stigma on like people shouldn't talk about things, or you shouldn't talk to people because it makes them uncomfortable, or you shouldn't like kind of just talk to people because everyone's got their own stuff going on and people haven't always got time to listen to other people's stuff and all those sorts of things. It's all very much kind of been that don't talk about it, keep it quiet, like deal with it yourself. But actually, there's no shame in reaching out for help. And I've always been quite big on, there's a few times my friends have reached out and said, I'm really struggling. And it's okay as well as the other person on the side of that to be like, I'm here for you, but I don't have enough of myself to give right now to be there for you and to get myself through what I'm going through at the moment as well.
Yeah.
But then signposting them or saying like, I've used like the local mental health thing, or Mind are really good to reach out to, and just kind of maybe signposting them to places where you've tried and got help from. Because I think, yeah, there is that big pressure to put ourselves under, to always have to put that bravado on and pretend we're fine and always look fine, act fine, and not show kind of the downsides and the negatives and stuff. But I think also it's that being able to say, actually, like, it's really good that you've reached out and you're talking to people, but it's also okay to say, I actually can't take on any of that right now as well, because my cup is already like at the bottom and I don't have anything left to give right now. But you can still be there and support someone and kind of just maybe help them with some signposting. But I think it's that taboo, isn't it, of like, people don't talk about mental health. And then I remember because Riley struggled with school last year and mental health and stuff, and I remember his head teacher being like, well, children don't need mental health days off, like children don't have mental health problems. And it's like, no, they definitely do. Yeah. Like, why are we, what's the age limit then where mental health kicks in? Because I'm pretty sure everyone has mental health. Yeah. And I think it's just that recognizing it is a big thing.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. My 6-year-old, my 7-year-old, 6 at the time, he would always say, Mummy, my tummy feels funny. And it took me a little while to clock, but he's actually anxious over something. He had, I don't know, he didn't understand something at school, or there was a falling out with his mates, or whatever it is. But you can have mental health. I mean, everyone has mental health. It depends whether you've got the good mental health or bad mental health. But that, coming from a school, is concerning.
Yeah. It wasn't very supportive, and luckily it's not there anymore.
So when you say kind of like signpost people to different causes, charities, or wherever, is there any kind of particularly that you are fond of, you've used, or anything you say, actually, they're a really great organisation, you need to go speak to them?
Yeah. So I use our local Steps to Wellbeing. I'm not sure whether that's like an NHS like global thing, or not global, national thing, or whether it's just kind of down in Dorset. Mind are really good as well. Men's mental health, you've got Andy's Man Club or Encourage. They're both really good for men's mental health. And I saw one at Andy's Man Club the other day, actually, and it was on that Time to Talk day, and they were handing out flowers to men just in one of the town centres, because they said that most men receive their first bunch of flowers at their own funeral. And it was like, it really hit home. And it was like, wow, like, yeah, like everyone was giving like flowers for women for like Mother's Day and anniversaries and birthdays, but most men don't get flowers. Like, why don't men get flowers? Yeah. So kind of those sorts of things, just really normalizing kind of everyday things, and also like highlighting those gender differences that still exist. Like, I'm all for the whole like equal rights and all the rest of it, but actually then that means then looking at how we talk to men and how we talk about mental health with the men in our lives as well, and having like those conversations about like, it's okay to not be okay, it's okay to cry, it's okay to show emotion. And I think that's been really important in the last few years as well.
100%. I mean, we're always kind of like, we say to men, you don't know what it's like being a woman, we can't go out at night, you know, we can't dress the way we want to dress because of this, that and the other. And I do think, and I am guilty of it, of not thinking about how the men are feeling.
Yeah.
It was with a live that Michael did on Thursday with Encourage, Jacob. Yeah. And it was, you know, it made me think, actually, I probably do need to speak a little bit kinder sometimes to my husband, instead of when he's walking in the door and me going, you know, it's been a terrible day and you haven't done the dishwasher and you haven't done this. I haven't actually asked how his day is.
Yeah.
So it's important to kind of flip it. We always want, as women, you know, for men to understand our world, but I think a lot of women also then need to flip it and think about the men's and their world as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's a bit of give and take, isn't it? And that communication is really important.
Yeah. And also flowers. Just buy them flowers. It doesn't have to be flowers. You know, just buy them something. Yeah. Something that they know, you know, that they will appreciate. Donuts. Yeah. Anything. Whatever it is that they like. So I'm just reading me notes here. I've asked you about your book, about books. I've asked you that one. So, right, how do you deal with self-doubt and negative thoughts?
That is a difficult one, isn't it? And I think it's, when you start doubting yourself, I think it's always important to remember that kind of those thoughts always pass. Like, normally there's a trigger, isn't there? Normally something happens, or you forget to do something, or someone says something, and that's when the self-doubt kicks in. And that's then when you start questioning yourself. and feeling just a little bit rubbish about yourself because of something that's happened.
Yeah.
So I think it's always important to remember that kind of that it does pass, like, and it is really easy, isn't it, to then kind of go on a downward spiral of then thinking like, kind of then you drag back up all the negative things you've done and all the things you failed to do and all the times you've then not kind of done what you're meant to have done. But it's kind of like, as much as all like the happy times come and go, it's remembering all those bad times come and go as well. So yeah, it is really difficult. I think it's then that's when it's like knowing what your triggers are and having some strategies that work for you that you know you can go to if you're having that as well. So like I said earlier, for mine it would be reading, or like reaching out and messaging a friend or speaking to my partner, or sometimes even just going and giving Riley a hug. Sometimes I go in and give him a hug and he's just like, what was that for? And it's more like I needed it rather than him needing it.
Yeah.
But
I did that with Logan earlier. He came and asked me a question. I was like, mate, can I just have a hug? He's like, yeah, okay. And he's like, why? It's like, I just needed a hug. It's like, I just needed that, an embrace, the warmth kind of thing.
Yeah, that's it. I think just kind of having some of those like things that you know that you can access just really can be beneficial. And it doesn't need to be big things either. Sometimes it's just, like we said, a hug from someone without having to explain why can just help.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So is there any kind of parting words of wisdom that you'd like to say to anybody? Any advice or just any random facts or anything?
Yeah, I think my key takeaway would just be to keep being you, and it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to reach out and ask for support or to say, I'm struggling, I need some help. It's also okay if someone reaches out to you to say, I can't kind of support you at the moment because I've got my own stuff going on, and just kind of let them know that you appreciate them reaching out, but you just can't take it on. It's okay to kind of feel like you're too busy trying to keep yourself afloat as well without, it's that whole like you need to put your emergency vest on yourself first before you try and save other people, and it's okay to admit that as well.
I love that.
So yeah, look after yourself and make sure your life vest is on before you try to save everyone else.
I love that analogy. That's not, for some reason, has never clicked in my head. But now you've said it, like, I'm one of these people that I need it dumbed down. You need to tell me in no uncertain terms, this, and this. But now you've said it in that way. Yes, you need to put your own life vest on before you think of anybody else. That's just been like a mind-blowing moment for me. It's something as so simple as that. Like, oh my God, yeah, you're right. I do need to do that first.
Yeah, everyone always says the whole you can't pour from an empty cup, but if your cup's empty to start with, then you've got to put your life vest on.
Yeah, that's blown my mind. I'm not gonna lie, but that really has, because it's something that, you know, if you travel or if you've ever been on a plane, it's the first thing they say to you is put your life vest on first before helping others.
Yeah,
and so that's just really resonated with me. It's like click, done. Oh, amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on and chatting.
Thank you
with me. I appreciate
for inviting me. Always nice to have a little chat.
Always. And I think that probably I speak for maybe yourself, but maybe for me as well. If anyone is struggling, then there is either my inbox, Kate's inbox, or anybody else's inbox. But then just think first. Well, not think first, but if they do turn around and say, I'm struggling, like, I understand you've got stuff going on, I've got stuff going on, but maybe go to X, Y, and Z. I'd feel guilty doing that, so I think that the person who's asked for help took such courage to ask. I don't want to turn them away. I see that.
It's a difficult one, isn't it?
It's tough. It is tough. But yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And if you ever need to talk, you know where I'm at.
Yeah, likewise. I'll speak to you soon.
You won't get rid of me. All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. It will be on my grid. I'll add you as a collaborate as well. And now it's on YouTube as well. I figured out how to set up a YouTube account.
Amazing.
So I'll put it on there as well.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.